We have the first kind of more asymmetrical fight, I think, in the game. Although there's always a little bit of difference. Both games, we weighted one side towards the heavier ships a little more than the other, and there's advantages and disadvantages to that. In this case, this is 8, I think so. The two Islamic forces, 31 and 32 ships, 84 and 90 damage points available. Not absolutely even. Also here, 19, 19, and 17 ships. Probably a mistake here. I don't know how a ship... I probably had a wrong count of ships. The others are right. This 1966 is because there was a ship missing that had gotten damaged. But 56, 66, and 60. What this means is we're going to be looking at probably below the 32 chart to hit either of those. But we get 3 rolls instead of 2. On the other hand, over here, we're looking at 84 to around 20. We're going to be able to hit the big 64 chart. So I think the advantage actually goes to the Islamicists here by consolidating their fleets. The disadvantage? Hard to tell. But their command stacks are fairly deep, so I don't think... I think there's a good chance they're going to end up repulsing the Chinese forces here, just as they were repulsed in the last one. Additionally, with more ships in the fleets, 31, 32 to these, go for the globes. Launching attacks on the first and third of the Chinese squadrons, trying to isolate them and just blast them out of existence. At the same time, we've spread our fire rather than concentrating it against just one fleet, and are dropping 2 shots over here on this one because it has more heavy ships, easier to knock out heavy ships, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. With forming a globe, the advantage is I'll get first fire. The problem is I'm scattered fire here. So, for example, this one, my best shot is a 12 going against Fleet 1. Fleet 1 has a defense of 19. I can't hit him. Higher than 19. Likewise, over here, my best ship is a 16. I'm not hitting a 16. I'm hitting something that's at least a 17. So I get essentially no shots on the first round of combat and have to take fire. And of course, if that globe doesn't form, if there's a backup globe, which I think, yeah, that one I think has it. This one's got a cylinder. Nope, this one's got a cone. So basically it's a one shot if formation's broken, I'll go to normal combat and try to just blast them away the normal way. But these are the globes that I'm forming, and again, making up rules here, but it doesn't seem like you should be able to slide a different group into a globe once you've formed it without reforming the globe, whatever that means. This went very, very badly. Forming globes was a dangerous move. The first globe actually succeeds, and that first squadron is in a lot of trouble. I think it's allowed to break out, but the cost for that was a command ship. The cost for the second globe was 2 command ships, a battleship, and a heavy cruiser, dropping its firepower to approximately what the other forces have. Now, I have a lot of ships here, but I lost all the weight of my ships, which means now that I'm forming a cylinder instead, and I've blown through 2 of these. This is because I had no defensive bonus for that forming globe. I'm lucky to have gotten one off, but again, we'll see how that all plays out as we go on. The first fire from the globe, etc. Let's move these guys all back up. They all shot. Our casualties, we took the big losses on that first round. Now, though, we're continuing to take. There's another command cruiser, but here a battleship and a command cruiser went. We got something else reduced here, though. These light fighters in the globe. That's all the globe took as damage. This guy's getting kind of picked up. So let's see, the globe is down to 74 now. Yeah, and this other fleet that got hammered so much actually did a decent amount. So now we've got these down in the 40s because they took some heavy ship losses. It's going to trim down to something tougher because there aren't that many heavy ships. There's a 12 here. There's the 8-point command cruisers. Don't want to lose all of them because then there's no fleets anymore. And the Chinese do not have any extra points left. So they could lose Loire if they lose all their cruisers at this point. Whereas if they can maintain at least one, they can flee back and try to fight a defensive war where they have, the chit advantages and stuff like that. Not that they have much else going in their favor there. Globe and the concentrated forces are working fairly well here. You can see the Chinese down to 82 points of firepower, whereas the Islamics are at 96. And now, when they started, I think they were about even, 170 something to 170 something, pretty much even with all those orbital fighters and everything. I thought the advantage would go to having more formations, especially since they're all richly provisioned with tactics, but it doesn't really look like it's the case. Now, I don't think there's anything that prevents you from breaking out of a globe, except you take one round of fire from it. I'm really questioning whether this Chinese force can keep standing here. Let's look at what's going on. So we got full firepower here. We got the globe here, which is potent. This is pretty decent. Over here, we're cut down. We've got a wedge over here. These guys still have cones, but they're getting really shot up. I'm down to 3 command ships total, which, one of my fleets is going to have to disband just because there's an extra command ship in one of the other squadrons. But over here, do I have 2 still? Yeah, I guess I still have 2 of these. I think I keep forgetting there's one here and not where I have shots at it. I'll go one more round to give them a chance to get that shot and then have to make a decision as to what's whether or not the Chinese want to pull out of there. Being a little discouraged because I wasn't even really pummeling this all that badly, but now it took a pretty big hit. There was a command cruiser there. I didn't destroy it, but I damaged it. That's more incentive to stick around the more damaged enemy ships there are. Those are guys who aren't in this fight now. Maybe I want to pick them off, but I don't know. Unless I'm on low odds tables, that's not terribly useful. If I'm stuck on low odds tables anyway, generally I'm not going to be able to beat up on a command cruiser very easily because, like here, if I'm on the 8 table, that means I could have been on the 16 table where I'd have a break capability, so I wouldn't shoot at the command cruiser, right? And picking off like a destroyer or something, it's just not that valuable. But if I can eliminate, this squadron, or effectively eliminate it so that it runs away or whatever, and I can concentrate all my fire on this and begin wearing it down pretty quickly. There's not a lot here. It's a lot of small stuff. So if I'm attritioning 3 ships to, it's not like I have a lot of big stuff here either, So if I'm attritioning 2 or 3 ships to the one that I'm taking, that's a worthwhile goal. So if I can wipe this out, it's worth staying. I think both sides are too invested to leave at this point. All that's fine and dandy except for this can no longer hurt the thing that's got it encircled. I think that's time to leave. There's 2. So I think we're going to try to break out with all our fleets, and that means one big shot from the 2 Islamic fleets as these guys go off on their merry way, trying to find their way home. Surprisingly, a couple of ships were destroyed. A ship is also destroyed from here, which is fine because I have no command ship there. In fact, I have no command ship on anything except the 2nd squadron, which means all of these commands go away. And over here, I think I don't have one. Oh, I do. I save his chits. So yeah, this is a pretty bad effect for the Chinese, and they ran away. That means the Islamicists are going to get to pursue next round. Maybe in another round of combat where I'm just running away and trying to get away. I have to rebuild the fleets because the Chinese are going to be one giant fleet. What does that mean? Well, maybe I want one giant fleet for the Islamicists as well. Anybody got any ships worth the damn? There's still a battle cruiser left over here and a destroyer. There's basically nothing but the command cruisers here. They're the biggest thing left. And he's got like 3 of them, and the Chinese have 2. Now, I could conceivably break into 2 fleets, but it's not a very good idea because I only have 1 set of ships available. What chasing is, a good significant portion of my force was the orbital fighters. When I look, I only have 39 ships. Now here, I should have 28, 38, 42. I'm outnumbered. I gathered into 1 fleet because my chit selection is better as a single fleet, and I have just such crap. I'm not going to have much staying power as a fleet if I don't have like 3 cruisers. And, those are pretty nice blockage, but 1 cruiser probably could get knocked down pretty quick. Also, I could get globed by this thing, assuming it has any. I don't know if I can look at its chits. And I have more chits than it does. My other squadron didn't have a lot of chits left. I'm going to let them fly away, and I'm going to build myself some robot fighters. But I got a problem. I don't think I can win if I do that. Here's why. Because too much of my fleet is robot fighters. I don't have bombardment capability. And, being able to launch 1 or 2 planetoids isn't going to wipe him out. So, I don't know what the answer is. Do I let the Chinese go back and rebuild? All they have is the capacity really to build 2 fleets, whereas I can put 3 together, which is okay. Their fleets aren't that impressive either. They've got like a spare cruiser and a battle cruiser to back it up. I think this is going to end up a draw, just because, and I suspect this scenario often will end up as one. Battles can turn, and the flavor turns heavily, but as long as you don't stick around like you kind of have to in the raid scenario, because otherwise, well, depending on how you see winning and losing, but as long as you're willing to pull back, I don't think this is that easy to get wiped out in. There aren't, complete routes. You defeat the enemy, they get a chance to get out of there. You only get a number of shots equal to, what your firepower formation is. I guess the best thing is if the enemy formation breaks and your formation breaks. Now, if you're allowed to discard or say, I'm out of formation, just flip it over, I'm not breaking. But there's no rules for any of this, But if you're allowed to pursue by breaking formation, but that might mean throwing away all the chits that you have for formation, or it may mean that something else completely not explained in the rules, like you can just turn them all down and say, yeah, we're not going to be in formation for the rest of this battle at any point. That latter idea, I think, is the better choice. Although I don't know what it means. Losing a formation, I have no idea what that's intended to represent. I understand the fleet not being able to hold its formation together. I understand the advantage of lots of these, meaning that you have a stronger, more qualified crew. In training and whatnot, but it's not like you've actually forgotten the formation or anything like that. And then training, well, it gives you random crap, which just feels kind of weird. I like some of the ideas behind the formation, but overall it just doesn't pull it together quite right for me. We're not sure. This might allow us to lose the game where we wouldn't otherwise be able to, but we're sure the hell can't win the game if we let the Chinese run away. So we're going to take one more stab at them here. I feel like my counter picks are pretty decent, and there aren't a lot over here. And if I look at them, which I don't know if I'm allowed to do, well, there's a useless globe and a couple of wedges. Wedges aren't very good. they don't give you the same firepower. And I've got a pile of cones. Neither of us is going to be able to get globes off, I assume. But yeah, I mean, all right, so I'm slightly outnumbered, but I have better chit picks and a weaker lead ship, but that lead ship could go real quick. It's just a battle cruiser. Those are really easy to crack down. And then beyond that, he's just got the same command cruisers that I have. Let's go for it. I think, yeah, again, I think whatever the results, you know, if there is a knockdown drag-out battle, that both sides are just going to be too wiped out to finish the other off. I made lots of mistakes, as you can see, but I came up with it. 40 ships to 43, but 82 strength points to 74. However, these are in wedgie form. The Chinese have to fight one round of battle before they can disengage, so they're going to take 2 rounds of combat damage to them. That's not very big. And then they can disengage and move on their own turn. And very quickly they'll be, because anything that can command has a speed of 2, very quickly they'll be getting their way out of the way. And then we have to decide, do we chase? Round of combat, just because I haven't done any combat zoomed in, and this is a really easy one with 2 fleets in play, to show you how the system works with these numbers, so I don't have to go the zing, zing, zing back and forth between fleets, which, you know, is kind of tricky. That's not part of the rules. That's just a matter of a convenience issue to make it work well. So the Islams have 82 strength points because they have a cone formation, so they're going to fire. There's 43 for the chin. And actually, I'll try to show you the whole way that I do the calculations because, hey, we got time here. So I've got a 39-point difference. 32 is my next point down, so I can shoot at a 7-point ship. That means I can shoot at anything except the command cruisers. I'd love to shoot a command cruiser, but if I can start breaking formations, that increases a lot of things in my favor, even if I'm going to break away. Sorry, this is the Islamic shooting at them. So 7-point differential. We'll go for a destroyer. Or no, we'll go for the battle cruiser with its 4-point shot. Wow. Did I count that sucker in? I must have. All right. Yeah, it's only got a 4-point defense, so those things are... Well, all I did was D it. So what's going to happen is that's going to flip over. And I would flip the number marker here to indicate I fired. And now I write down, all right, the chin are down 1 ship. It's not gone, but that doesn't matter. For this battle, it's gone. And we're down to 62 strength. Because fire wasn't simultaneous, though, or was simultaneous, we take our 74 here, subtract the 40. Nope, we don't have 74 because we've got a wedge formation. So what we actually have is 12 plus 42, because there's 42 additional ships with wedge formation. So we have 54 minus 40. That gets us only to 14, which means we have our best shot at an 8, so we can shoot things that are worth 6. We could drop it down further and try to knock out a command ship, but it's really not worth it. So we're going to get that FT because that's got a little bit more bombardment capability than anything else. If we can knock it out. 1, we missed. We did no damage whatsoever. Next round, we're going to break away. We'll end up getting shot at again, which means that 82 is in play again, this time only against 42 defense base. That gets us 32, so we can shoot an 8-point ship on the 32 column. We'll take out one of those command cruisers. There's 2 in the fleet. We get a 2, it's just a disruption. The chin get away. And now on their turn, they'll fly further. That puts us here. And yes, we moved the planets and everything. Can we afford to chase? You know, I don't know. I mean, if we blast that fleet enough, we're not going to get defeated. But we're also not going to... God, my poor... I really hurt myself dancing. I came down bad on my ankle. And it's all swollen up, I guess. The whole foot is. Who knows? Maybe something's broken. Doesn't look like it. I mean, it's not like really nasty looking. But it could be a small break that you hardly notice. Yep. You always pay your price. Even if you don't ask for something, if something good happens, the price is always taken from me. And even if I screw it up, right? All right. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do more tonight. The planetary defense table. I have some cruisers that have a high defense factor, but everything else is 4 or less. Robots or planetoids, right? The robots are going to be hard to knock out, but when they strike the planet, they might get a couple population. DES is no population at all. It's just a fixture. I've got to be able to destroy 3 of these factories, but maybe not. I don't remember quite the rules for that. But I got to be able to get like nearly 1,000 points of population down. Basically, it's these cruisers that would be my best shots. They do them in 6s and 3s. Now, the planetoid, if it hits, destroys everything and maybe gets other things nearby. So that's the only way that I have of wiping the chin out. On the other hand, I could very easily instead build 4 more of these on my next production phase, which will cost 8 points. Granted, I still have a little bit left, and it'll give me an 8 additional points here, 4 more ships, a much more powerful defensive force. It's not the case like in the other scenario where I just have to strip off, 1 planet or something. I gotta bombard pretty much everything. There's no planet except the one where I have all my orbital fighters that I could just say screw it to. No, that's them. Armageddon here, which is one of my stronger planets. But there's no other planet that I could do that with. It takes at least 2 shots. So there's moons on all of these. I know I was looking over there to see what I could do. Well, there's moons on all of these, which means I could get, I don't know how, I have like 6 moon shots. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I could dump 2 moons on each of these. And that could do a significant amount of damage. It's possible the Chin can still win. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin around and let them get away. And on their turn, they'll pull into their own orbit, so they'll be bonused for that. They will build up and try to come up with a force that can take this on. But it's going to be tough. They don't have the firepower. But I'm pretty damn sure that the Islamists cannot attack in. After a day off, busy stuff going on. And an unwillingness to play. Because I kind of think there's nothing going on. I think there's not. I think the game is just not going to go anywhere at this point. So, some production lined up. The Islamic player, by not chasing, basically made, when he had a slight advantage, made the decision, I'm not trying to win this. I don't think I have a chance of winning this. He has almost nothing for firepower. He has 3 command cruisers. All I could build, well, best defense, some of these robot fighters. They're mobile, and they have additional firepower, and that'll help a little bit. I don't have enough points to buy more of them. I don't want to buy or I have enough points to buy a couple more. I don't have any more counters to buy them, and I don't want to buy orbital fighters. I've got a pile of those. I think wherever I put them is not where I'm going to be engaging then, because the Qin learned their lesson with that, although I don't know how they're going to force a fleet battle if I go hide behind the orbital fighters. Over here, nothing to build. Both fleets split up after playing with the chits, and that's basically a let's see if we can get more chits. It may not be the configuration I want to fight in, especially the Islamists have no heavy ships at all. Their biggest things are command cruisers, which are 8s, which aren't that small. And likewise over here, we do have, though, a battle cruiser and some destroyers to back up the command cruiser, just in case those get plucked off. But I really don't. I'm beginning to think that you want everything in one squadron. The firepower advantages, defensive advantages were pretty high. We'll do comparisons of the points, but I'm not sure. We're basically just in this incredibly tedious pattern of this game, which is, I mean, there's not a lot going on in it, and that's kind of the problem, but you're sitting there waiting for the fighting strategies to come up. And, you know, at some point or another, I guess the Chinese, who have a slight disadvantage in force size. Yeah, I think we should just call this. But anyway, they do have an advantage in terms of a bigger ship. And they actually aren't that far behind. They've got this, because that was just the damaged battle cruiser. But they have a slight disadvantage in force size, but have a potential to win the game. I think the Islamicists do not have any potential to win the game. The only thing they can do is they probably have the better chance of defending themselves. At this point, you would probably see two nations actually saying, look, this is impossible. However, when you look at things like no peace without Spain and the Spanish Succession War, well, such things lasted forever. It's one of the reasons that game kind of doesn't appeal to me, is because it kind of turns into this stalemate where I can tell nobody can do anything too impressive. Well, that's the case we have here. I don't think the Qin have the navy to be able to take out the Islam, and I don't think, and I'm pretty damn sure the Islam don't have the capability to wipe out the population. And I don't think the Qin have the capability either, to tell you the honest truth. It's just, you know, their battle cruiser, when it goes into fire, it's going to get shot up by the ground defenses. So I should really call this. Yeah, I think I'm going to quit this one. I don't see any reasonable chance of the Qin being able to get through with enough force to be able to take out the Islamists. And I think this scenario is actually just flawed in that way. I think it would be really, really unlikely for someone to get enough power to be able to perform the attacks, assuming that the defender decides to bother putting any defensive measures on any of the planets, basically. If they don't do that, they have a stronger fleet, and maybe more of a chance of breaking the other guy's fleet and getting through themselves. That's actually one of the flaws to all of the scenarios here. One of the aspects, I guess. It may not be a flaw, but it really comes down to, you make this little rock, paper, scissors game at the beginning as to whether or not you're going to, what kind of force you're going to configure and everything. And then it's a lot of effort and a fair amount of luck as to how well they actually match up to each other. But there's not a whole hell of a lot you can do strategy-wise. Hidden units, well, if you made the fleet compositions hidden and everything like that, it becomes just another layer of guesswork. There's just not much to the game itself that is very intriguing, which is a shame because there are some neat ideas in it.